All right. So we'll call the Buildings and Ground Forestry meeting for June meeting to order. Take the roll, please, Meredith.
Good morning, Michelle Drobnik online. She's here. Jeff Hallstrand.
Here.
Jason Hastings, are you online? Jason Hastings, are you online? Jordan Spacek, remote. And
yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And Patty Stevens.
Here.
Thank you. So right now we have 2 remote, 2 in person.
Okay, so I would ask that we ex officio appoint Brian Ernst to sit in today. And I think I can make that decision. I don't know if we need to vote, but I would say let's have Brian sit as a voting. If you'd like to.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, sir. Okay, public comments and communication. I have nothing. Joe, do you have anything, or Nick? All right, anybody else?
It sounds like I just got a message that Jason is here. He just pulled into the parking lot. So if you want to wait a minute
Okay,
and then kick Brian off.
I don't kick Brian on. We can leave him on anyway. No,
No, because then you can only add if you're short.
okay. You're fired.
You're dismissed.
Hang on,
Thank you
I'm
for-
just short.
Thanks.
But we can review the minutes.
Yeah, you can start just when he gets here.
If anybody has any questions about them or corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I have a motion from Jordan,
I'll second.
second from Patty. All those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried.
Can I interject here? Jenny, did you want to have something to say?
But I wonder if Michelle can hear.
She can hear.
Mike.
She doesn't.
I
Can you
cannot
hear?
hear Jenny if she's talking.
He's not
Michelle
up to the
has-
mic yet.
Okay.
We can't hear you when you talk, Michelle. I can see your video and your mouth moving.
You're officially fired, man.
Thumbs up
She
when you
gotta
vote.
hit
We'll do that.
start.
We were just
There you go.
appointing Brian to,
Thumbs up.
we didn't know if you were gonna make it or not.
I
so.
texted you a half hour ago.
Which phone? Do you have my new phone number?
Must not.
You need it.
Very good.
Okay, Ginny Strobel, Town of Georgetown. That stewardship program was necessary at first, probably, but I have questions about that even. It has 37 years of government-controlled land, adding to the government-controlled land, taking it off the tax roll, adding restrictions. It's been abused over the years. More control for the DNR. The DNR recently bought all the land along the Brule and along the Fox River Valley. So now forever, no one can ever own it. Evers wants the amount increased in the budget to $1 billion. Talk about abuse. Governor Doyle, when he first got in, bought land in 3 counties in the northwest corner of Wisconsin, and they're off the tax roll. Forest County really isn't being maintained. They can't get in there. Only 16% of Forest County is privately owned now because of the stewardship program. The year before he bought the land in Florence County, their school district had gone bankrupt. So he bought a whole bunch of land and took it off the tax roll. So their school district was the whole county. So that went. You have to, please don't automatically just decide that, well, this should go to the full county board because it's really up to you to decide. And I hope that you decide not to do it. Every environmental extremist group and their lobbyists are pushing to keep it. It's not good. It never has been. It came in right before Agenda 21 came to Wisconsin, and I think it's part of it.
Okay. So we're skipping over buildings and grounds today. Unless Nick would like to fill us in on anything important. Nothing, no bids, no nothing yet. So, all right, we'll just try and keep it short today. So the first forest and parks is resolution support of reauthorization of state funding for Knowles stewardship program.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes,
Okay, just wanted to make sure you could hear me now.
yes, ma'am.
Figured it
Loud,
out.
loud and clear.
Wonderful.
So we heard Jenny's comments on this program. It's been around for a long time. I do have my own personal feelings. There's a lot of programs I do and don't like. But I also do believe that sometimes we do need to stop development on all these lakes and everything because it kind of ruins nature when all of a sudden everybody from neighboring states or down south wants to come up and have a piece of our pie. So, I mean, that part of it isn't necessarily always bad. Yeah, we pay more taxes, I guess, but I don't know, Joel, what's your take on the whole Knowles program?
I would say the same thing. The CAN program has some things that are good. There's parts. I don't know how that's going to go if they don't reauthorize it because there's certain things that the ATV snowmobile funding comes through CAN. They're going to have to reauthorize that in some way, and it just might be in a different fashion. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But that kind of stuff will have to just be redone somehow. So if it doesn't get reauthorized, but
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
In the past, we've received grants through this, correct?
so we have bought most recently we bought that Ram property out on W.
Okay, so we have actually bought property.
Correct. So
So
that
just use it for trail funding and improvements and that kind of stuff.
correct. Yep. So the amount that's and I don't want to say the amounts because there's certain amounts that are allocated towards there's nonprofit amounts, there's county amount that can go direct to counties, and then there's maybe one other state maybe has a pool of money for the actual purchase of land. The last 5 years, the nonprofit amounts if they don't use theirs, then it carries over to county to be used. And that hasn't been touched because there hasn't been enough projects to actually utilize the money, because there's certain places that are looking to buy land, especially down south more than up north, but there's certain counties that do. We've historically only used it for, like, for instance, that property gave public access or better public access to a chunk of county land, gave us access for timber sales. And because we had basically, it was the river down below, W was here, and it was public or private across the top. So we had no good access to that. That's what we used it for, and for instance, for those type of instances, that's probably a good use,
So generally speaking, any property that we purchased using this funding has been something that we needed access. We're not buying property just to keep it off the private rolls for to stop development.
I don't think that's been that's been pretty clear for a while where we're not looking to increase our land holdings unless there's a bigger impact to that, and access like that is a big, that's a big impact.
So our support of this would be only something like that, or for, like you said, ATV trails.
Yeah. So the other parts like the boat landing, that rec rec voting grant, that does come through there. The local park aids, that comes through there. ATV snowmobile, the RTP funding comes through there. And then the land purchase stuff is part of that too. So it's just a big giant grant type of deal. And I don't know, like I said, program that. I don't know how they'll do it. I mean, they'll have to figure out something there because some of those, are just rolled into that, and that land purchase is kind of and how they fund that. That's always been the thing that people are.
Where's the contract? Is there a contract that we could look at? Anybody got a contract? Or signing stuff that no contract again?
Well, contract.
No, I know.
All we're
I
doing is
understand
saying
that
that
we're-
we're supporting that the fund remain in balance, but there is.
There's got to be a contract somewhere that we can see.
Right. So this resolution is to say to the state that, hey, you should continue this program. Like Joe mentioned, there's several areas that we participate in. The contract comes in each one of those participating areas. This has nothing to do with a contract. This is the pool of funding that would allow for, and again, we don't do some of this stuff.
I would think, based on what Joe just said, we've got contracts from the past where we've got grant. I would imagine you have them on file, right? When you did the grant applications and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so in any, like that 20-acre parcel, that was when I first got on the board. That all comes to the board for approval before anything happens with it. This is just saying we support having the fund of money there.
Telling the legislature that they
Right.
should reauthorize it. We're in support of reauthorizing it if we pass it. Correct?
Correct.
This is George. I'm assuming there's certain criteria that needs to be met for it to be approved and used, correct?
Can we see that criteria?
We're not applying for anything. So when you apply for the funding, you would
No,
receive.
yeah, I'm saying when yeah.
There's
Yeah,
gotta be
so
an
Not
old
for
one
the,
though, right?
not,
Right. So when we did the RAM property, we went through this committee. We said, here's what the contract or the memo of understanding of what you're going to be doing. Then it went to the full board. The full board reviewed it. And then we purchased the property using, I think it was 50-50 at that time. So it was, 60,000, 70,000. We got half of that through the stewardship grant with a contract at the time. But unless we're borrowing or utilizing, there's no contract.
And as far as our county, when it comes to applying for and spending this money, we can decide what, if we want to acquire land or not, that should be kept private. But we can't stop other counties from gobbling up private land.
Well, and I do believe, to Jenny's point, that this stewardship program also authorizes the DNR to come in and buy pieces of property as well, and take them off the roll, which that goes through legislation or through the Gestapo down there. So, but
Which is more the reason why I'm against this, because of the lack of transparency. There's no accountability at the state level for this stuff that is decided with the money. And now it's $1 billion for the state of Wisconsin, not $33 million annually. It's a huge amount.
Patty, you had some questions?
Yeah, because I'm new to this too, but you said we decided to buy some and we brought it to the full board. Who does the full board ask permission for? It says Wisconsin legislature, but is that like Tom Tiffany, or is that people we don't know, or is that the DNR?
I believe Joel works on an application, correct, Joel?
So I haven't gone through the purchase process, but from the way I just remember offhand is you bring your project forward. You got to have somebody come and do a appraisal of the property, so that state appraiser comes, says, here's the amount that this property is worth. So you can get funding up to that amount, and it's 50% of that amount. That goes through a whole process, because it's got to go through, at least before, it used to have to go through joint finance to get approval down at the state level for any purchase. So that's the way it was before. so there's different steps that need to be taken that way. And it's not one of those deals where, if I'm trying to sell land to the county and I just put an extreme amount on there, they're not going to just say, yep, that's what it's worth. So that does have to go through that process. But, and then of course the county board has to approve it. Then it goes to the state. They have to approve it. DNR has to approve it. So there's steps to that, but I don't know it all either.
And if I may, it goes through the state legislature and the governor. You mentioned Tom Tiffany, he's U.S. representative. He can help lobby, but
Yeah.
it's all, this
He's-
particular is all through the state.
Okay. it's all state.
Yep.
Okay.
This is all state,
We should clarify. So currently it's 33.25 million. The governor has asked for 100 million, not $1 billion. And that's already been stricken down. So it'll be back at the 33 million as of right now. So you're a little off on the.
When did that happen? I read an article that was written March 10th. So
Just looked it up. It was 100 million that he asked for. So either way, the $1 billion is not correct.
So I'll give my 2 cents, and this involves everybody in the county. We're a group of 5 in a committee. And I've always said this, I vote for things I don't necessarily approve of a lot in committee level, because I don't think 5 people should speak for the whole county. It should be voted on by the full county board, because we're 5 of 13. And there's been things that have been shot down at committee in the past that I feel had they made the full county board, they overwhelmingly would have passed. So that's my 2 cents on some of this stuff, is that, yep, we can kill it at committee. But I think that there's 13 of us supervisors, and a lot of these decisions should be made by all 13, not just 5. Because one time it might be something that you're really dead against. Next time it might be something that you really, really support and your committee shoots it down. There's examples floating out there right now that it happens, and I don't like it. I don't think it's the just way to do things. The full board should speak on stuff.
And just a history. So it was 33 million in 2007. It
what are you
went to
reading, Nick?
the state budget.
Okay.
It was $86 million in 2011. Then it went down $60 million. So in 2013, it was 33 million, and it's been 33 million since then. So the request was to go up to $100 million, which is now not in there. So it's at 33. And that's out of the state budget from March. May 8th was the last one.
Patty?
Here's another thing I know a little about. If this is about tax rolls, what is preventing nonprofits from purchasing land? Nonprofits don't pay taxes, do they?
That's
Property
not
tax?
true. Churches don't pay taxes. Nonprofits pay based on their 501c3. There are,
Okay.
it's depending on the usage of the property. So like example for Lineite, where they wanted to be a nonprofit, that does not excuse them from paying taxes. Now, there are groups that have certain things that fit within the statutes, but just because a nonprofit buys it does not automatically make it tax
Okay.
exempt.
All right, thanks.
Even a church pays on they don't pay on the church property itself or the actual churches, but if they own 40 acres, the 1 acre with
True,
their-
I'm saying
the-
church buildings, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is a lot of this, there's other funding that comes forward. So even if you take it off, there's I can't remember the payment we get, Joe, every year for lands that equals or is supposed to offset that. the
payment in
payment,
lieu
yeah.
of taxes. Yeah.
We get a PILT payment based on properties that are no longer on the tax roll to offset. So then everybody can use it, but yet you get a payment in lieu of taxes.
Any other questions? Michelle, Jordan, online?
No, I guess I'm just, were you making that a motion, Jeff, or no?
Was I making an emotion? I can make a motion. I would make a motion that we forward this on to the full board of supervisors for a vote.
I'll second it.
Second
Like you
that.
said, I agree, Jeff. It's something that should be communicated with all 13. And I agree from both sides that no, you don't want them to control it, but also you want some control so that way it's not completely all bought up so people can use recreational land.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yes, I'd like to see those contracts that go along with this that we've used in the past.
So we'll task Joel maybe here with looking up this past one where we did utilize the Knowles program for purchasing that 20 acres out, see what you can dig up.
Do you, just for the land purchase, or do you want for
What
the
other
eight-
obligation? I guess there's more obligations than that, so let's, whatever you said it's been used for.
The PILF
I don't
money
know.
and
you're talking for like ATV grant or the one for the campground?
What are my options? What do I get to see?
Well, there's boat landing. There's lots of grants have gone through. So I guess you
Yeah, I'd like to
you
see
name.
that, the list of grants and a contract or two.
Sure. Yeah.
Send me a list of
absolutely.
grants and I'll tell you which one I want. How's
Okay.
that?
We can do that. I don't.
Perfect.
What's wrong with that? Yeah.
like you just spent 2
Yeah.
weeks researching just a couple times where we've utilized.
No, we get current ones right now where you can. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, a motion on the floor and a second by Patty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?
Okay. Motion carried 4-1. Forward it on to the full board for a vote. Not saying we approve with anything, saying we're forwarding it on for a full vote at the full board. All right. Next item, Solberg Lake Campground Expansion Update.
So tomorrow, the sewer and water, they're gonna start putting that in. Sounds like power as well. The private power in McMillan is coming as well. Price Electric did get their 3 service spots put in. Dirt work is pretty much complete, little bit left. They still got to haul gravel and whatever, but that's gonna get done after lines are put in for sewer and water and electric, so they're not just going through what has already been done. So they're gonna wait to get the gravel in till after that's done. So it's kind of where we're sitting on the park end of things. ATV trail, I did go out with delineator and think we found a way around some of the wetlands. We got to get approval to move it because you sign grant agreements for, for a certain path. And then if you move it, especially with the RTP funding, that requires, because that's federal money, that requires that you get an archaeological study. So we'll have to get archaeological study on those paths around those wetlands. But I got to get approval first on that. And I emailed a couple weeks ago, but I haven't not heard anything back. So put in a call as well. So hopefully here soon on that. The bridge.
Is
Yeah.
that gonna cost more? Having to go a different route?
We'll see. It probably, there is going to be added cost, and I mean it should, because we're going to have to do the trail. It just goes straight. We're going to be doing we're going to avoid the wetlands, but we're going to disturb more land is what's going to end up happening.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's, just the way we got to do it in order to go around. So.
And this is basically the existing trail is already there. We just wanted to improve it, right?
Right.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be snowmobile trail will keep on going straight. The ATV trail will, we'll go 300 yards to their 100 yard or whatever it'll be, something like that. So, so that'll be, we'll be working on that here going forward. But it's a good thing, I guess we can get through there. Bridge did go in, last week or 2 weeks ago, over the creek. So that part is done as well.
So all the tops and stuff that were out there, Joe, there's a contractor burying all that stuff, or do we chip it, or?
So the tops I had, the logging crew actually grabbed tops, put it in a pile, and we had that mulch. Then they pushed it into, there's an old gravel pit that's there. It was a town gravel pit. And, so we actually cut that out, put the stumps in that, spoil basically in there. So right now we got a big pile of topsoil, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do there. If I'm going to have that screened or what, but there's added cost to that too. So, just weighing what our options are there as far as how we're going to deal with that. So
Did we on the existing campsite go in and grab all that stuff out of there too then?
no,
As far as tops?
not across the road. No.
Is that something that you normally use the folks from Flambeau Correctional Facility to come in and?
Some of it, when it's within the camping areas, but when it's outside of that, typically we've let it, you get complaints for about the first year, and then you get some growth and the green comes up, and then nobody notices it anymore. So,
Okay. Cause I drove out there and somebody asked if they complained that, hey, are you gonna clean up
yeah.
all these tops?
Yeah, it's tough to do that on, you got 20 acres or whatever, and to manicure and pull that's all. Is the juice worth the squeeze kind of thing for the extra amount of work and time it takes. So, and even prison crew is very economical, but it's not free either, so.
Okay. Any questions about the Solberg project? If not, we'll move on. Item number 11, Corp update.
So we had requests from both Fifield and Town of Fifield and City of Park Falls for us to include the City of Park Falls was their athletic complex, to include that in the county outdoor rec plan, and Fifield's Park, Memorial Park, Park. What is it? Mulvridge. Okay, Mulvridge Park. And they're basically looking to get some CAN grants for upgrading. Fifield's looking at play equipment, upgrading that area. And then City of Park Falls looking at their athletic complex, and it was just upgrades on their fields, and that's got to be in the corp in order to apply for that stewardship funding. So
is that plan, our outdoor rec plan, is that once a year we approve it, or we can approve and add stuff all the time?
So it's a 5-year plan, and then so with the 5-year plan, we redo that. I sent out to towns and municipalities if they want to be included. This is where even if it's something where you might do it, you can include it in here, but it can always be amended. So this is just an amendment to that plan to add these parks in there, because they didn't have at the time, didn't think they needed to do it, or didn't know about the projects. So now we did this a couple of years ago. So the one in yellow, I left it highlighted in yellow in your packet. That's the City of Park Falls. That was last year, 2 years ago, I think. 2 years ago, maybe. That was their municipal downtown park that they did the upgrades on.
So they got stewardship money for that from us?
We don't do anything with the stewardship grant for them.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
In order for a municipality or an organization to put in for any type of grant, they have to be on our outdoor rec plan.
Okay.
I have identified that. So I know that Ogama Ballpark, I don't know if they're in here or not, but they went to apply for a grant. They got denied because they weren't in our 5-year plan.
And they can do their own. So municipalities can do their own outdoor rec plan. It's easier just to jump in on the county's end of things. So that's what most of them do. So then they can then do their own grant application for their parks.
No, they do all the
But
work.
money doesn't flow through us. They apply for their own grant. They administer their own grants.
So how does it speeds up the process?
It just allows them to apply for the grants.
Remember them boxes you were talking about checking? That's one of them. Are you part of an outdoor rec plan?
Okay.
If you check no, you're done. They throw it right out. So.
What a lot of this is for the grants is this is the oversight. You're saying as a community that this is something you want them to be able to apply for and get the grant. If you don't check that box, the grantee or the grantor is saying you didn't check with your community. This is just a rogue group asking for money, where now it's in a plan that in our case, we're oversight as a county, but Park Falls. could do the-
Oversight, we're not a fiduciary for this. Just oversight.
Well, we're saying this is something the community needs. And so now the grantor says, oh, look, you had a recreational plan that a group of your community has looked at and said yes. Where if we don't do this, Park Falls would then just have to make their own rec plan, which is a process, or Fifield, in order to get their playground grants, they would have to make their own rec plan, or Ogama, like you said. So what they're saying is the grantor wants to see somebody in the community say this was a good idea or something to be part
How
of.
come it's done like that?
Because the grantors don't have time to look at every community.
Public, then it's public comment. So public has the right to come into this meeting and say, this is a terrible idea, or it's a great idea, or nobody shows up for it. So it's all about transparency, so you have it out there that, okay, they can make comments. That's why that outdoor rec plan's redone every 5 years. So it's not just 25 years ago, you made this plan to snuck something in there. Well, this every 5 years gets redone, or it's got to be amended so that people have that right to say, no, we don't want this project, or we do. So it's all about transparency. That's why.
On the athletic complex, that's all used by like school activities. How does that work? That's even Park Fall, like the track and stuff. Who paid for that in the past? Do you guys know?
It's owned by the city. The complex is
really?
owned by the city.
It's the same like Phillips with the baseball field that's city property on the baseball field too.
Any other questions?
It's a lot of money. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Again, these are the communities this has nothing, the
Right.
county does not. put money
Financially,
towards
we
it.
have no input here. We're just saying that it's on our plan. Somebody came to us, said, put it on your plan so they can apply for a grant down the road. And grants, yes, grants are all tax dollars. Somewhere they generated from a tax dollar.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on. Steve Creek Shooting Range.
You'll have to put a vote on it.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh.
To
all right.
amend that. To amend
it. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep, sorry. Okay, well then I'd be looking for a motion to
I'll make a motion to amend the plan presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Jordan,
I'll second.
second by Patty. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. This will still go on to the full board as well, right? Or is this one that doesn't have to? Cause I think it will, yeah.
Isn't some of the stuff done already at the center park, like the ADA compliant pathways and the?
I was looking at that. I
So-
think some of it.
So
is-
I left the yellow on there just to show that was an amendment that we did in the past. And the red is what we're actually amending what was sent over. So it's those two, the complex and the other one. So that yellow one we amended, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, because Tim's Hill.
It's just a good way for me to keep track of amendments on there is all.
Right. And now when we get to the 5th year and redo it, those things
Those
can
will
be
come
removed.
off.
You know, during the amendments, you wouldn't take things out. Cause it's a good history of somebody wanted, some get done, some don't. It's you won't amend to remove once things are done.
Jeff, can I ask a quick question? What's the official name of this 5-year plan? I have list
Our
of
Outdoor
potential.
recreation plan.
Okay, because it said list of potential projects. Is that part of it? At
Yeah,
the
that's capital improvement considerations
Capital
is what we're
improvement.
looking at.
Yeah, but this is what it's called.
the corp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Outdoor recreational plan.
This is just a section of the 5-year plan, which is chapter 5, capital improvements. So there's multiple chapters. It's
There's 5 chapters to
well, but there's chapters 1 through 4 that have other areas that are the outdoor recreational plan. You're amending chapter 5 for capital
Gotcha.
improvement considerations.
That's an overwhelming amount of work. All of it.
And again, some of this stuff that's on here, Jason, and a lot of it is, you put it on the plan as far
I
as
understand. You
future
have to- you
things
have
that
to
could.
For your budget.
It's
It-
just
well,
a
Your
wish, it's a
paycheck.
wish
Y-
list.
y- It's
Right.
not a saying you're going to do this.
Right.
It's okay if funding becomes available or then it's in there. So that's typically how it's run, where there's things that are put on there that were on there 2 plans ago, that just haven't,
Like the
there
par
hasn't-
3 golf
hasn't-
course at Solberg Lake.
I
yeah.
didn't even see
Right.
that one.
Yeah, this is a really big wish list, but it's not saying that it's,
At one point, there was a swimming pool at Smith Lake. I don't know if it's still on there or not, but
that was
you
in
know,
the original plan for Smith Lake, I believe.
yeah. So I mean, there's things on there that funding doesn't line up with everything all the time, right?
So my confusion is legit.
All this does is allow for the funding request.
Applications, yeah.
Yeah. Not saying that that county's gonna actually fund this.
Right.
Right.
Those have to be done separately.
So during the 5-year process, you have meetings to say, what do you want to put on here? And some board member, some citizen, somewhere agreed to this list of stuff. So it doesn't mean we're going to do it. It's like, I think you called it the wish list, the ideas list, the vision board. But when it comes down to actually applying for it, the board may say, nope, why would we ever apply for a par 3 golf course or a swimming pool at Smith Lake? But at the time, you put it on there as that vision of where do you want to see these parks or these areas going. Now, the updates are a lot more pointed because they're already trying to access grant funding for these things. So the city of Park Falls, they probably have a list of 100 other things, but they know they're working on the complex, the baseball field, the softball field. So that's why they come forward and say, here, put these on there quick because we didn't get them during the 5-year process.
As long as you say we're not paying for it, because I couldn't explain to my constituents or Jeff's constituents why we're paying for a track in Park Falls when it's.
This has nothing to do with our funding. This is allowing individual
that would be
groups.
the city of Park Falls
Yes.
explaining to your constituents why
Right.
they're paying
Yeah,
for it.
it's-
not
They have to
us.
be on this list in order to allow access to the grant funding. But we're not committing to any funding.
All right, that motion passed. Steve Creek Shooting Range Plan update. I see you got a kind of a nice looking detailed list here, Joe.
Yeah, and these are just approximate costs of each step, approximate time involved for us.
I make a motion, we approve the $1,698 cost. If we need a motion.
I don't think we need a motion because I think our last motion we did at our last committee was for Joe to just put kind of a plan together and I would, just knowing of what Mr. Pipcorn is gathering down there, he's looking for more funds. You know, they've got 10,000, I believe he told us already, which is basically what this is. But I know that he was going to another organization down there asking them to contribute, and I'm sure.
The county equipment costs, that's placed in the budget already as far as use of the tractor to
You've already
mow
bought it.
trail. We budget for equipment maintenance and gas, oil, antifreeze. That's all budgeted for. Same with employee hours are budgeted for every year. That what I tried to show here was, I'm thinking that it's going to take us about 20 hours of dozer time. Might be less, might be a little bit more. But when we apply for grants and we say we're going to match something, that $48 per hour that's how much we can place for our match time. It's our salary, so the person that's in there plus that $48 an hour on that dozer. So like, for instance, on the Salberg project right now, if I use the dozer, it's my salary plus that, if 1 hour of my salary plus 1 hour of dozer, and we can use that as a match to leverage that fund. So the county doesn't have to then say, okay, $1,000 here, I can use $1,000 of my time and that dozer. So that's what that's showing is the cost on what the DNR puts on for grant, how much our equipment's worth. So tractor, it's $41 an hour. Freightliner trailer to haul stuff down. That's what that's sitting at. So
I would
if you're doing a grant, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I would recommend there's a motion to continue the project, because at the last meeting, the motion was to look into the cost. So there's no approval of a specific funding, because we believe the group's giving $10,000 or contributing a minimum of $10,000, which that should cover what Joe has listed for the berms and all that. Joe's now outlined saying we've already budgeted in our account. We know it, but it's taking them from a different project. However, the county has already taken into account Joe's time, the equipment, but we're listing it so you're aware of it. So really, you're just as a group saying we've now heard everything we needed to. We recommend this project, continuing with this project. Then it's our role to keep it within a budget or a reasonable cost.
I don't know if this question is appropriate for this committee, but is that snowmobile trail getting rerouted? That doesn't look safe.
Yeah. So the way the way I should have drawn it on here correctly. So the way that there's a berm drawn on there on that east side, that's actually a hill now from spoils, I'm guessing, so there's a old trail kind of that will clean up on the other side of that. Yeah. So that'll be kind of the number one priority is we have a current user group that's there. What they have will be taken care of first. That club is aware of the plan and they are just fine with that. That trail will just be moved over on the other side of that berm and make it safe both ways.
And there's a trail's gonna go over the top of the new spillway when it gets installed.
That's the plan.
And that would be right up in here.
Yeah, and that's the way I have it drawn on there going over that spillway. Currently with that washed out, it's actually on the road. They have to jump on the road in that stretch because of the washed out dike.
But easily, if you're familiar with the area at all, very easily they can turn and go right up that between the berm and the foliage.
Yeah.
Foliage will sit kind of like this in here. So that trail will turn right here and go back behind, back up. So I guess we would be looking for a motion then to have Joe continue on with the project.
I did make a motion.
Did
That
you?
still stands. I'll make a motion.
For Joe to continue on with the project. Okay.
I'll
I have a
second.
motion by Jason, second by Patty. Any further discussion online?
Nope. Get the ball going on it. Something
Okay.
good for that area.
Yeah.
We've got money, a different group to help it out, so it's a good thing.
And it's 300 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Didn't
I
even
have a
see that.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Move on. Camping rates. Now Jordan's awake.
So this was just something that with the new addition, we have sewer and water, so you can, it's easier for campers to stay longer. Also you have a campground where you're putting more sites on, try to offer something a little bit different to, you know, well, get more money there and get more people there. So, basically what we did is we kind of looked at what some other people offered as far as pricing. And then kind of used those numbers. Basically, I put a question mark behind, 1 month rate of $750 or a 4 month rate of $2,750. $750 comes to $25 a day. 4 month rate, that comes to like $23 a day.
So when we're talking about long-term rentals, we're talking in the new addition only, correct?
That would be up to you guys on that. That would be the best place for them in that with the sewer and water hookup, because the other spots there isn't, but we can allow either way. And I'm could start with allowing it over there, see how that goes. Do we want to add some at Smith Lake at some point? That might be the ideal thing to do, and see what we get for requests. People let us know their opinions. So
These other Washburn, St. Germain, Eagle River, those all had sewer and water.
well, so some of that's mixed on that, Jason, because some of those do and some of them don't.
Okay.
Some of them like this one, $69 a day. Well, it has like a water park with it, so there's kind of, it was tough. And then some don't even list what they have. So it's tough and we did like Comfort Cove is on the lake there, but they don't have both hookups to it. And it's one of those deals where I up to you guys, of course, but we don't want to undercut our private businesses around the area either, with a similar product. And
So does Comfort Cove only do a seasonal or do they do a by the month? Couldn't get it
I
out of
don't
them.
I don't know on that. That was just on their online
They only
rates.
do
They
seasonal.
have seasonal.
Only do seasonal, Jordan?
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm not knowing of anything that they do any daily or weekly or anything like that. I talked to Joe slightly yesterday because I wasn't sure if I was going to make the meeting, and I thought the rate sounded pretty fair, for what we're going with and whatnot. So I don't have any opposition to what he presented. I think we need to limit it to just out there though, for the time being.
Limited to what?
Limited to the new addition rather than get
Yeah,
people
yeah.
staying in the campground all summer long.
Sure.
I don't disagree with that.
Is it gonna fill up having sewer and water and everything? Is it gonna, because we're saying it's open to the public right now, and then if it all fills up, it's not open to the public.
Well, yeah, and I think we can always adjust what we're doing if something. I
I don't think
don't
there's gonna be
foresee
a
that
influx of
happening.
40 people looking for permanent sites. No. No. I did
agree.
talk to a camping when we were out there Memorial Day weekend, and they asked what was going on, and I told them that they'd be full hookup sites out there, and there was some excitement about that. They're like, "Oh man, that'd be nice to be able to stay for a little while and have full hookup." So, so maybe it'll get more use than we know.
So do we, I don't see it listed on here necessarily, but do we look at, because now inside the campground, we do not have full water, sewer and electrical hookups. And we're charging how much? 25
30.
$30 a day? Are we gonna make that on the other side a little bit more because we are offering all three?
The biggest thing we'll have to monitor with the amounts, even those long-term ones, the electric is going to be probably the biggest thing. If we get a bunch of people pull in and they run their, gone for 2 weeks and they got their air conditioning on, price electric power isn't cheap. So that's where we'll have to kind of monitor where we're at on that if we need to do something different. I am going to talk to McMillan about just see what they have to say about meters on sites if we ever have to go to that. So we can kind of keep track of that, because there's some places where if they're seasonal, here's your rate, but you're also paying for your utilities. So there's something to that.
Put a 60-minute timer on it that you gotta wind up,
Yeah.
leave.
Gotta put quarters in.
No, it's just one of those things we'll look into
I would
that
start
just a little
off
bit too.
charging more right away with the full hookups.
That's just my personal thought, that with full hookups, maybe we should be $40, or $35 minimum a night, and then offer this long range plan, because the potential for long range people over on that side might be greater, I would think. Keep them out of the campground.
Sure.
And we've got a ways to go yet. This is just informational today, just to start thinking and
Yeah.
gathering, because we won't be open over there until next year.
No.
So,
I've stayed at High Pines, and just as a comparison, they're charging the highest tier daily 69. Solberg is a lot nicer facility, in my opinion.
I agree with Brian, that's a reasonable
So
amount.
raising it to 35 or 40 for full hookups, I don't think is out of line.
right. I mean, we're gonna have to recoup a little bit more,
Sure.
And I think, Comfort Cove is pretty much full over there with seasonal people that aren't on the water. So I see no reason why we're not gonna get some people that are gonna say, well, yeah, we'll come over there, but we should not undercut the local business person. So. All right, well, I guess that's informational. Everybody's got it, kind of be thinking about it, and we'll keep it in mind. Department report, anything else you have for us? Joe? Financial?
Few sales going on. It's pretty slow yet at this point. It's pretty typical of early summer. We only have a couple of sales, usually some aspen sales peeling, are kind of what you get early. Did get the trees planted. Our truck did arrive to the Freightliner truck. Did almost got to the end of the driveway and the check engine light came on. So they did take it back and whatever. So we have it now. So it's great. But otherwise normal, pretty normal stuff for summer.
Stumpage looks good. In comparison to where we were last year.
What are we at for stumpage number? Do we know?
May, it's got 909,424, but
We have receivables too, so
we've got some coming in. We're close to $1 million, Jordan.
Okay, sounds good. I was just curious on that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great place to be at this time of the year. All right, summer help has started, and
yep. We got same guy as last year and got nice nose of ropes. So
okay,
doing good.
good. Any other questions for Joel? Okay. All right, we'll go on to vouchers. Everybody's gotten a chance to see them that's here. I would look for a motion to approve the
I
vouchers.
didn't see vouchers.
Didn't you see them?
Mm-mm.
Oh. Oh. Okay, we'll hold off on that. Jason's looking at the vouchers. I thought everybody had seen them, but sorry. So I did talk to a logger this morning who said he's thinking of moving into one of our jobs. Said today makes a big difference. Whether or not he moves or goes further northeast. But they're really squealing for field popple right now, and Quinnesset is looking for hardwood. You know, so that's good for us. I guess Price County isn't the greatest peeling popple wood. Most of our jobs are smaller wood, but yeah, they want that less than 11 inches. Yeah. So.
What did you say they want less than 11 inches? I didn't catch that. Jeff.
When they peel and popple, they don't want anything bigger than 11 inches.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. What's really interesting sometimes is to go, I don't know if it's still this non-automated, but that Excelsior mill over in Rice Lake, where they make that fabric that goes along the roads for construction jobs. They actually take them logs and they were cutting them, and have you been there, Joe? They cut them in half and somebody hand carries them over to the peeler. And so that's why they don't want them very big, because that's all the more they could handle. I would assume they're more automated now. That was 25 years ago when I was there, but really interesting to kind of see where your product ends up and what knots and crooked wood does. So. Okay, now we've seen the vouchers. 3 of us here.
I motion we approve the vouchers.
We have a motion by Patty,
I will second.
a second by Jason. Any other discussion on them? Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? Carry that motion. With that, we are adjourned. Next meeting will be July 1st. Did I see that right? Is the first Tuesday? Oh, all right, yep. Next meeting.
Do we
July
need a
1st.
July meeting? Okay.
Are we gonna need one, Joe, do you think, or see what comes up? It's scheduled. If we don't need it, we'll send out a cancellation.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.